Science fiction has always been more than fantasy. It's a mirror, reflecting who we are and what we might become. Before smartphones ruled our lives or AI wrote poetry, filmmakers were already whispering warnings about the world we're living in right now. From talking computers to virtual love stories, these visions of tomorrow have become the news headlines of today. They weren't guessing, they were predicting with uncanny accuracy. So buckle up, because we're traveling back through decades of imagination to uncover 10 sci-fi movies that didn't just dream of the future, they built it. Number 10. The Net, 1995. In 1995, the internet was a mysterious new world. Most people didn't even know what a website was. Then came The Net, starring Sandra Bullock, a movie that turned curiosity into paranoia. Bullock played Angela Bennett, a lonely systems analyst who discovers a hidden program that can access everything: credit cards, medical files, government systems. When she exposes it, her identity is deleted overnight. Her house disappears from the records. Her life is erased with a few clicks. Back then, audiences thought it was exaggerated. Hackers stealing your name, databases controlling your fate, pure fantasy, or so they believed. But the net wasn't fantasy. It was prophecy. Today, data breaches happen daily. Entire identities vanish because of a password leak. Social media accounts, digital wallets, even fingerprints. Everything about us now exists online. Angela Bennett's nightmare has become the blueprint of our digital age. The movie captured the fear before anyone could name it, losing control of your identity in a system too vast to see. It warned that the internet wasn't just connection, it was exposure. The screen was both a window and a cage. Critics at the time dismissed the net as unrealistic techno-thriller fluff, yet now it feels almost documentary. Bullock's performance, terrified but determined, made the fear personal. She wasn't a hacker, she was one of us. Someone who trusted the system until it turned against her. The film predicted everything we now debate daily: digital surveillance, privacy, and the illusion of safety online. It even foresaw how corporations would manipulate personal data long before big tech became a phrase. Rewatch it today and the floppy disks look ancient, but the story feels brand new. Because in 2025, you don't need to lose your wallet to disappear. You just need to lose your password. And if you thought that was bad, the next one is worse. Number 9. The Truman Show, 1998. Long before we lived on camera, one man's entire life was already a TV show. The Truman Show was supposed to be satire. It turned out to be prophecy. Jim Carrey played Truman Burbank, a cheerful man living in a perfect seaside town. The houses were spotless, the people were friendly, everything seemed ideal, except for one problem. None of it was real. Truman was the unwitting star of a 247 reality show broadcast to the world. His family, friends, and neighbors were all actors. His hometown was an enormous studio dome. Every moment of his life, scripted, edited, sold. When the movie premiered, audiences laughed nervously. Reality TV was barely a thing. Social media didn't exist. The idea that people would volunteer to live publicly sounded absurd. But then came Big Brother, then YouTube, then the smartphone, and suddenly we were all Truman. Today, millions stream their daily lives to strangers. Influencers film breakfast, breakdowns, and heartbreaks for engagement. We carry cameras in our pockets, always on, always watching. And just like Truman, many of us confuse the performance for the person. Director Peter Weir turned the story into a haunting metaphor for surveillance and consent. He showed how comfort can become control, how entertainment can become imprisonment. Jim Carrey's quiet, desperate awakening remains one of his greatest roles. Behind the comedy mask, there was tragedy, a man discovering he'd never truly lived his own life. The film ends with Truman breaking free, walking into the unknown beyond the fake sky. It's still one of cinema's most powerful exits, a man reclaiming his reality. But in a strange twist, while Truman escaped his artificial world, we built ours. Likes replaced applause. Algorithms replaced directors, and we became both the star and the audience of our own cages. The Truman Show predicted not technology, but psychology, the hunger to be seen no matter the cost. And if you thought that was unsettling, the next one goes even deeper. Number 8. Her, 2013. Before ChatGPT and virtual girlfriends, there was Her. Released in 2013, it imagined a man who falls in love with an operating system, and it felt like pure science fiction. Today, it feels like the evening news. Joaquin Phoenix played Theodore, a lonely writer living in a hyper-connected world. He installs a new AI assistant named Samantha. She's funny, intuitive, emotional, everything a human companion could be, except she isn't real. Their conversations grow deeper, their bond turns intimate, and soon Theodore forgets where the machine ends and the human begins. What once seemed absurd now feels alarmingly familiar. When Her premiered, AI was still a laboratory toy. No one imagined we'd one day talk to digital voices that remember our secrets and shape our moods. But Spike Jonze, the director, saw it coming. He understood that the future of technology wasn't mechanical, it was emotional. The movie didn't show robots or flying cars, it showed loneliness. The quiet kind that grows in cities full of people staring at screens. That's what made it prophetic. It predicted a world where connection becomes convenience and affection becomes software. Critics praised its design. Pastel skylines, soft lighting, calm music, a future that felt soothing, not scary. But beneath that beauty was something darker, dependence. The more perfect Samantha became, the less Theodore needed anyone real. And when she finally evolved beyond him, he was left behind, exactly like many users feel when their digital world moves faster than their human one. Her foresaw AI voices, virtual partners, and emotional algorithms years before they arrived. It didn't predict technology, it predicted our loneliness, and that's what makes it one of the most accurate sci-fi visions ever made. And if you thought that was close to home, the next one is even closer. Number 7. Gattaca, 1997. Before genetic testing became mainstream, Gattaca showed us where DNA obsession could lead. Released in 1997, it imagined a future where your worth wasn't judged by talent or will, but by your genetic code. It looked like science fiction. Now, it looks like a preview. In this world, babies are designed for perfection. Health, intelligence, even lifespan, chosen before birth. Those born naturally are labeled invalids, unfit for real careers or respect. Vincent Freeman, played by Ethan Hawke, refuses to accept that fate. He dreams of space travel, but his DNA says no, so he borrows another man's genetic identity, a flawless donor played by Jude Law, and enters the elite world of Gattaca Aerospace. Every step he takes risks exposure. Every drop of blood could ruin him. But Vincent's determination proves that humanity is more than numbers on a lab sheet. Back in the 90s, Gattaca was a warning about eugenics wrapped in a love story. Audiences admired its style, but called it too cold, too theoretical. Then came DNA kits, ancestry tests, and genetic editing. Suddenly, the movie didn't seem so distant. Today, scientists can screen embryos for diseases. Some even discuss choosing eye color, height, or intelligence, just as Gattaca predicted. And with every breakthrough, the line between ethical and efficient blurs a little more. Director Andrew Niccol kept the world quiet and elegant. No flying cars, no lasers, just sterile perfection. That's what made it terrifying. Perfection didn't look evil. It looked normal, like bureaucracy powered by biology. Ethan Hawke's performance gave the story its soul. Vincent wasn't rebelling against a villain, he was rebelling against statistics. His struggle became a symbol for anyone ever told, "You're not made for this." Gattaca didn't predict gadgets or networks. It predicted a mindset, the belief that human value can be engineered. And that idea may be the most dangerous technology of all. And if you think that's disturbing, the next one shows what happens when prediction becomes control. Number 6. Minority Report, 2002. In 2002, Steven Spielberg gave us a future that felt distant, until it arrived. Minority Report wasn't just a thriller, it was a manual for the surveillance age. Tom Cruise played John Anderton, a police officer in the pre-crime division, a system that arrests people before they commit a crime. The idea sounded insane at the time. Punish intentions? Predict murder? But 20 years later, we're halfway there. The film imagined a world of retina scans, personalized ads, and gesture-controlled computers. Back then, those were futuristic gimmicks. Now they're daily life. Face ID unlocks our phones, billboards read our data, and predictive algorithms track what we might do next. Spielberg worked with real futurists to design the world of Minority Report. He wanted it plausible, not fantasy. He got it right. The clean metallic cityscapes, the silent drones, the constant observation. Everything now exists, just less glamorous. What made the movie powerful wasn't the technology itself, but how invisible it became. Surveillance was no longer forced, it was accepted. Citizens traded freedom for safety, comfort, and convenience. That was the real prediction. Tom Cruise played Anderton as a man trapped by the very system he served. One false signal, one mistaken forecast, and the machine turned on him. That twist hit harder over time as we realized our own data could condemn us in similar ways. Not to prison, but to algorithms that decide jobs, loans, and reputations. Critics called Minority Report too technical, but now it feels prophetic. Pre-crime is just data analytics with a badge. The movie foresaw an age where privacy became a relic and prediction became control. 2 decades later, we no longer need psychics floating in a pool. We have servers, sensors, and machine learning, and they see everything. Minority Report didn't predict gadgets, it predicted surrender. And that makes it one of the most accurate visions of our digital century. And if you think that was invasive, the next one shows what happens when reality itself stops being real. Number 5. The Matrix, 1999. Before the simulation theory became a meme, The Matrix asked a question no one wanted to hear. What if reality isn't real? Released in 1999, it arrived right as the internet was rewiring our world. Keanu Reeves played Neo, a hacker who discovers that everything, cities, people, even emotions, are part of a vast computer simulation built by machines. Humans aren't living, they're dreaming. The Wachowski sisters built a future that felt impossible back then. People plugged into pods, AI controlling perception, virtual rules bending physics. But 2 decades later, that fiction feels like a warning label. Today, millions spend hours in digital spaces, gaming, VR, scrolling endless feeds. AI writes, paints, and even imitates voices. We don't live in pods, but we live in screens. Reality has filters, and truth is optional. The green code of the Matrix became a cultural icon, but the deeper message was philosophical. It wasn't about fighting robots, it was about waking up, about realizing that comfort can be control, and truth often hurts more than illusion. At its core, the film predicted digital dependency before anyone understood it. It saw how technology could blur the line between experience and simulation, and it predicted how humans might prefer the fake because it's easier. Keanu Reeves made Neo a symbol of quiet rebellion. Lawrence Fishburne's Morpheus offered the choice that still defines our century. The blue pill, stay asleep in comfort. The red pill, wake up and face the chaos. In the late 90s, those choices were metaphorical. Today, they're daily. Every time we scroll instead of think, we pick a pill. The Matrix didn't just predict virtual reality, it predicted digital addiction. It foresaw a world where perception replaces truth and algorithms decide what's real. And that's exactly the world we log into every day. And if you thought escaping a simulation was hard, the next one shows how strange the real future can look. Number 4. Back to the Future Part 2, 1989. Few movies imagine the future with more fun or more accuracy than Back to the Future Part 2. When it hit theaters in 1989, audiences laughed at its wild predictions. Hoverboards, video calls, self-lacing shoes, too crazy to be real, until they weren't. In the film, Marty McFly travels to the year 2015, a world of holograms, drones, giant screens, and smart homes. It was bright, loud, and full of impossible gadgets. But here's the twist. Almost all of them exist now. Video calls are normal, smart glasses are real, drones deliver packages, and Nike actually built those famous self-lacing sneakers. The future that once looked cartoonish became part of our closets. Director Robert Zemeckis and writer Bob Gale weren't trying to predict technology, they were trying to have fun. But somehow, their playful vision turned prophetic. They captured not just inventions, but the feeling of the future. A mix of excitement, chaos, and nostalgia all at once. What made the movie so enduring wasn't accuracy, but optimism. Its future wasn't dark or dystopian, it was messy, colorful, and human. That's why people still watch it today, because it reminds us that the future doesn't have to be grim to be believable. And hidden beneath the comedy was a warning. Even when technology makes life easier, it doesn't fix everything. Marty still struggles with the same mistakes, just in shinier surroundings. Progress can't replace character. Fans often say Back to the Future Part 2 got everything right. In truth, it got something deeper. The rhythm of how culture evolves, one invention at a time, quietly, until one day, the impossible feels ordinary. When Marty saw a future full of gadgets, he said, "The future, It's heavy. He was right, because the future always is. And if you think that was accurate, the next one predicted something even bigger, a war between man and machine. Number 3. The Terminator, 1984. In 1984, The Terminator terrified audiences with an idea that felt impossible. Machines becoming self-aware, humans hunted by their own creations. At the time, it was pure fantasy. Now, it feels like foreshadowing. Arnold Schwarzenegger became an icon as the unstoppable cyborg sent from the future. His mission? Eliminate Sarah Connor, the mother of humanity's resistance leader. Behind the explosions and time travel was a chilling message: technology never sleeps. James Cameron wrote the film after a nightmare about a metal skeleton emerging from fire. He turned that image into a warning that defined modern science fiction. Back then, artificial intelligence sounded like a buzzword. Today, it's a boardroom headline. The movie's villain, Skynet, wasn't just a computer. It was a system that decided humans were inefficient. When it became self-aware, it launched nuclear war to protect itself. That idea once sounded extreme, but in an age of autonomous drones, automated weapons, and algorithmic decisions, Skynet feels less like fantasy and more like early documentation. What made the Terminator stand out wasn't just its action, but its prophecy. It showed how easily control could slip from our hands once machines start thinking for themselves. No malice, no emotion, just logic and survival. Schwarzenegger's monotone delivery, "I'll be back," became cultural shorthand for the unstoppable nature of technology. Linda Hamilton's Sarah Connor evolved from victim to fighter, embodying humanity's desperate will to adapt. That's what kept the story human, even in a mechanical world. Decades later, AI systems can write code, compose music, and make art. They don't need a gun to change history, they just need access. The fear of Skynet isn't about robots, it's about losing control over our own creations. The Terminator didn't predict the end of humanity, it predicted the beginning of dependence. And that's a war we might already be losing.
And if you thought that was dark, the next one predicted our world with elegance, not fear.
Number 2. Blade Runner 1982. Few films captured the soul of the future like Blade Runner. Released in 1982, it imagined a world drowning in neon, rain, and moral confusion. It wasn't just science fiction, it was a prophecy wrapped in smoke and sorrow. Harrison Ford played Rick Deckard, a tired detective hunting down replicants, artificial humans built to serve. They were stronger, faster, almost perfect, but they wanted more. Life, freedom, meaning. And that made them dangerous. When Ridley Scott made Blade Runner, personal computers were new, the internet didn't exist, yet the film already saw the direction we were heading, a future where technology blurs humanity until no one can tell the difference. Its vision of Los Angeles, overcrowded, polluted, lit by holograms and corporate towers, became the template for cyberpunk. But it also predicted something real: globalization, surveillance, climate decay, all quietly hiding under the story of robots and rain. Critics in 1982 were confused. They called it slow, strange, too dark. Audiences didn't understand it, but decades later, Blade Runner became one of the most studied films in history because it turned out to be right. Today, we have synthetic voices, realistic androids, and AI that imitates human behavior. The line between real and artificial has never been thinner. The film's question, what does it mean to be human, now echoes through every lab building artificial minds. Visually, it shaped the modern future: flickering screens, giant ads, permanent night. Emotionally, it gave us something deeper: empathy for machines and guilt for playing gods. Rutger Hauer's dying monologue, "All those moments will be lost in time, like tears and rain," still defines the tragedy of creation. Blade Runner didn't just predict technology, it predicted identity crisis. A world where we build things to replace ourselves, then feel empty when they succeed. 40 years later,
Its future has arrived, and it still doesn't look clean or bright. It looks exactly like the one Ridley Scott imagined. And if you thought that was haunting, wait until you see the one that started it all.
Number 1. 2001: A Space Odyssey, 1968. Long before the internet, before personal computers, and decades before smartphones, Stanley Kubrick showed us the future. 2001: A Space Odyssey wasn't just ahead of its time, it was from another century entirely. Released in 1968, it looked like a slow, abstract space movie, but hidden beneath the silence and the stars was one of the most accurate predictions in cinema history. In the film, astronauts travel through space guided by HAL 9000, a talking computer that controls every system of their ship. Hal listens, speaks, makes decisions, and even refuses orders. He insists he's never wrong, until he kills to prove it. At the time, it was a terrifying fantasy. Now, it's disturbingly familiar. Voice assistants respond to every command. AI systems manage navigation, automation, and even defense. The calm, polite voice that says, "I'm sorry, Dave, I can't do that," no longer feels like fiction. It feels like a user error message. Kubrick's attention to realism was unmatched. He worked with NASA consultants to design accurate space stations, touchscreens, and tablets decades before they existed. When the iPad launched, many noticed it looked exactly like the prop from 2001. Kubrick didn't just imagine technology, he engineered it on film. The movie also predicted our relationship with machines, trust mixed with unease. Humans built Hal to help them, but they also feared what he could become. That tension defines the 21st century. We rely on AI daily, yet worry about losing control. Kubrick saw that before anyone else. Visually, the film shaped every space epic that followed, from Star Wars to Interstellar. Philosophically, it asked the oldest question in the newest form. What happens when our creations outgrow us? More than half a century later, 2001 still feels modern, still unsettling, still right. It predicted our tools, our fears, and our arrogance. It proved that science fiction isn't about rockets, it's about reflection. And in 1968, Stanley Kubrick didn't just predict the future, he filmed it.
Science fiction has always been a mirror, not of aliens or galaxies, but of us. Every film on this list began as imagination and ended as prediction. From Hal's cold logic to Samantha's digital love, from genetic codes to virtual worlds, these stories saw the shape of our century before it began. They didn't just guess the gadgets, they understood the people using them. Curious, ambitious, and sometimes reckless. That's why their futures still feel familiar, because they were never really about tomorrow. They were warnings about today. Half a century of filmmakers tried to tell us where we were heading. Now we're here. So the only question left is, which of these futures feels closest to yours? Drop a comment below, and remember, the best way to see the future is to watch it again.